Hi, I'm Amy Radin, Digital Transformation and Innovation Expert, and I'm here at FundForum Next Gen with Tom Ryan, partner at Anthemis Group. Hi, how are you today?
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So you were on a panel this morning talking about disruptive innovation and what's next, and you sit in a particularly interesting spot, given the portfolio of Fintech companies you're involved in.
Yep.
What do you see happening? What are the big trends, and where do you see things going in terms of Fintech?
Well, at Anthemis, we look at this as a multi-decade phenomenon, Fintech. I mean, we don't look at this as a race that, will run and pop a champagne cork and that'll have been the Fintech phenomenon. We see this as a very gradual transformation. So what we've seen, I think most recently is that, incumbent institutions like banks and insurance companies are tending to work with startups a little bit more, and so there's a little bit more of a phenomenon of co-opetition, if you like.
Right.
I think for a long time, the Fintechs were the folks with the sweatshirts and the dogs and renting space somewhere on the edge of town. But I think we've seen that those folks have original business models, original ideas, and creative application of technology. So we're seeing those Fintech companies start to mature. And this is really just the first wave. I mean, we're talking about in a lot of cases, elegant UXs and UIs and a lot of mobile-based technology and applications. But the entire middle and back end of the stack is still yet to be transformed. So we see this as the very early stages of as I said, as a multi-decade phenomenon of change.
Yeah, one of the things that I find interesting is certainly a lot of talk about customer centricity and the user experience in this industry, with a tendency to focus sometimes on the front end.
That's right.
And sometimes people miss the point that a lot of the work in what the user or investor ends up experiencing are the things that happen on the back end.
That's right. Yeah, so the back end and the middle side of the stack, I guess if you think about it, is where the products are manufactured. It lends itself to the speed and efficiency and distribution of these products. It adds to the contextualization of them, so making them personalized in terms of portfolios, investment ideas, or financial advice. So so this has been sort of the first phase of that, as you said, the kind of the perfume on the pig, if you like. But we're starting to see the breakdown of the middle and back end of that stack, and a lot of it's dependent on, incumbents are sitting on 25, 30 years worth of technology debt. You're seeing, regulation is sort of the elephant in the room. So there's a lot of business models that don't quite work sometimes, and kind of the industrial age of regulation that we're still dealing with. So there's a lot more to be done. It's really exciting, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think that one of the things I find interesting in talking to entrepreneurs is they just have this ability to live in the future. If you're an established company and you've done things a certain way and it's made you successful, you've probably had if you're the CEO of one of these companies, you've been really successful doing things a certain way. Now you have to change. When you look at people, their ability, there's people who are able to look into the future versus the people who get kind of rooted in the past. What separates them out? What are the qualities of the real leaders who manage to go down the road not traveled yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, financial services has been the worst combination in terms of people with, businesses with really high margins, people that are really comfortable being in cruise control in terms of running their businesses in a particular way without pulling a muscle. I think, and so that attracts those kinds of attributes where you see people with their feet kicked up and, with really high margins and, poor distribution. That really motivates a lot of people to get in there and do it better. I mean, financial services in particular, everybody's impacted by financial services. Everybody interfaces with money in some way and insurance. So, it's attracted a lot of bright entrepreneurs and people to sort of attack it, if you like.
Right. Well, money is everywhere, and financial services is, at the end of the day, bedrock of our economy. So I guess the combination of the fin and the tech must be attracting amazing talent.
It's true. It's attracting a lot of amazing talent and a lot of people that are coming at it from different perspectives and different walks of life. I mean, I think the first phase of Fintech, which, as I say, I think we're still sort of in, was mostly people that were in the space and close to the space. But we've seen a lot of people coming at it from different sides and different perspectives, and that gets us really excited. I mean, we most of our founders and myself and others in our firm worked at banks and large financial institutions, so we know what it's like to fight the good fight. But for as many bright ideas and perspectives that can come out from other parts of technology and other disciplines is really exciting.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that your partners mostly come from traditional
That's right.
backgrounds, because there's some belief that the only way to drive change and find the new ideas is is people who come from completely outside the industry.
Yeah, so we've got the scars to prove it in having tried to convince management and convince various business units to transform and evolve. I mean, I was actually quite lucky at Barclays that we were given a lot of air cover to evolve our business in the sales and trading side of things. But if it were all hunky-dory, we'd still be there, right? But I think we recognize that this is a bigger opportunity than maybe the banks can attack alone. So that's one of the reasons we created Anthemis in 2010.
Right. So what's your advice to people sitting in the C-suite at the product and distribution players who are here at FundForum? What's your advice to them around innovation and what they really might focus on to drive progress?
Well, I mean, I think it's a couple of things. One, the notion of incubators and accelerators and labs gets kicked a lot, and sometimes it's dismissed as innovation theater.
Right.
But I think that's a means to an end. I mean, I think, big institutions that want to hack themselves and do it publicly, I think it's all part of the end game. So I guess that's one thing, is creating an accelerator or a lab of some sort and having these experiments happening is a net positive. I think if I'm in that C-suite right now and I'm not thinking about not just technology to make incremental innovation happen and add a little bit of speed, which sadly we're seeing at a lot of financial institutions, but I think really rethinking the whole business model, thinking about all the inefficiencies in the manufacturing and distribution of products. Frankly, thinking about if I were to build this business today from scratch, how would I think about it?
Right.
I'd also be thinking about the amount of capital and attention that's on my business, on my margins, on my client base, and if that's not motivation enough to be thinking aggressively about how I reinvent myself, then I'd be nervous for that C-suite to not be thinking about that seriously enough.
So, in your mind, obviously, it's an essential.
Yeah, and it's an essential, yeah. And again, there's not one fast answer. I mean, there's the notion of taking principal investments and making sort of hedging the future and making some venture investments. It's doing labs and hacking your businesses internally. It's trying lots of small experiments. Thinking about the options and it's all of these things. There's no silver bullet answer. There's not you don't add somebody to the board that's got a sweatshirt or have your CEO parachute into Silicon Valley and call that innovation. There's all this is habit. This is profound, and it's a repeatable thing that needs to be happening.
It's hard work.
It's hard work. Well, that's the other answer too. Is that the first rule of innovation is it's hard work, and accepting that and rolling up your sleeves. And it's not about putting out a press release or all those things can help signal intent, but it's really about the execution.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And great to spend some time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.